All right, today we're going to break down the top 3 things you got to do when building out a team. Let's dive into it. So I'm scrolling around on Facebook and Instagram, and I saw some comments of somebody how they were super proud that they got rid of all their employees and they're just down running their business by themselves and they don't want a big business and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, cut the shit, right? Like, everybody wants a big business. The reason you don't want employees is because you didn't do these 3 things when you were building out your team and you had a bunch of liabilities instead of a bunch of assets in your business. Building a team and having people on your team, it's a lot easier to build a big business than it is to run a small business. It's a lot more fun to make an impact on more lives than it is on fewer lives. And you will make a lot more money if you build a big business versus a small business. So I think it's really important that as you're growing your business, as you're developing out your team, you have to do these 3 things. Because I didn't early on. And early on, I started a management company in 2016. I hired all these people. They all came on board, and I had to fire everybody within 6 months. And then I had rebuilt the entire company over the next 3-4 months. And about 4 or 5 months later, I had to fire everybody again. And eventually, I realized it wasn't their fault. It was my fault, right? I was the common variable of why nobody was doing what they were supposed to be doing. So I learned these things, and I've implemented these 3 tactics, these 3 strategies in every hire that I make now. All right, so number 1 is screen your employees. Early in business, I was like, hey, who wants to come and work for me? And if somebody raised their hand, I couldn't believe that they were dumb enough to come and work for somebody who didn't know what they were doing. And I'd be like, you're hired, right? And the reason that they raised their hand is because they didn't have any other options, not because they liked me or they were loyal to me in any regard. It was because they didn't have any other options or places or people who would hire them. So I didn't screen them, right? It's like if you own a rental property and you just allow anybody to move in there, which I also did early on in my business. I had drug addicts, hookers, prostitutes, well, I guess that's the same thing, porn stars. I had all sorts of different people who came in to these properties and tore them up, didn't pay rent, had huge eviction backgrounds, and they were professional tenants jumping from property to property to property, just moving in, milking it for as many months as they could before the eviction actually happened, and then they move on to another property. That was my life because I didn't screen tenants. And guess what? When I didn't screen employees, I had problem after problem after problem after problem. If you see somebody who jumps around from job to job every couple of months or every year, guess what? They're not making a commitment to any one corporation, any one company, right? Chances are you're not going to be able to maintain them or retain them for longer than about 12 months if that's their track record. Give them something to do. Give them like a task and say, hey, what would you do in this scenario? And give me 3 different solutions to this problem. Those are a couple different ways that you can kind of screen people to see what their problem solving ability is, how resourceful they are or not, and if they can actually complete a task at hand. All right, number 2 is train your employees, right? When people would be hired on into my company, I don't know if it was just I didn't know what the hell I was doing, or I was too lazy, or I just assumed that they knew what to do, but I'd hire people on and I wouldn't train them. And I'd say, hey, all right, go, get after it, right? And we forget how long we've been in this business and how much we've learned over the course of time. And we expect people to just know what to do right when they come on board. That's not the case. You got to train your employees. I remember when I first got my dog Oxford and I took him over to puppy training. You know what they actually did? They didn't train my dog. They trained me and my wife. And they trained us how to say the exact same thing across the board. They trained us on how to give them the exact same commands for whatever we want them to do, right? Like sometimes when a dog jumps up, some people say down, some people say off, some people say, get down. You have to say the exact same thing and be consistent every single time that they do that. If you want them to stop or you want them to wait, you have to use the exact same verbiage all the time with a dog in order to train them properly, right? But again, it's twofold. One is you got to get good at this yourself and understand exactly what you want out of that employee so that way you can train them properly, and then you and whoever your team is needs to stay consistent on whatever that looks like, whatever those roles and responsibilities are. And if you tell them to do one thing, don't jump in and mix it all up and change it all up on them every single time. So make sure you're training your employees the proper way. A great way to do this is just record your daily activities. Download Loom and just copy what you do when you're answering emails, or when you're pulling leads, or when you're reaching out to clients or prospects. And you can record during that time, so that way, every time you hire somebody for that role, you just have them watch the recording, and that's the training. It's you actually doing the activity. And eventually you get to a place where you hire somebody who's maybe in charge of operations, and they put standard operating procedures together and a process map and checklists together for making sure that they do the right thing. Checklists have been an absolute game changer. When I understood that it didn't have to be anything overly complex, and all I needed to do was say, hey, you're gonna go and inspect this house. Here's a checklist of everything that you need to look at. Hey, here's what your role is on the construction side of things, getting multiple bids from multiple contractors and talking to this many suppliers and vendors and all this other stuff. It allowed us to just have checklists that kind of policed, making sure that the people that my team was doing what they were supposed to be doing. So training your team, putting SOPs, standard operating procedures, and checklists in place is absolutely integral to making sure that they're doing what you want them to do and what they should be doing, and staying focused on those things. And so that leads us into number 3. And number 3 is measuring their performance. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. You have to have some sort of metric in place to measure the performance of your team. What are those called? Those are called KPIs, key performance indicators. KPIs allow you to quantify what your team is doing. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have an acquisitions person on your team and you're flipping houses. You want them to close 5 deals per month. The issue with that is the goal is 5 deals. That's not the activity. There are a lot of variables from start to finish of actually closing a deal that are outside of that acquisition person's roles and responsibilities and control, right? Like, they can't control if a title thing pops up. They can't control if the inspection comes back poor. They can't control if the seller goes crazy or there's a minority interest partner with 1% that won't sign off on the deal. There's a lot of different things that can mess up a deal that are outside of the acquisition person's scope, right? Like, that's outside of their control, and there's variables that you just cannot maneuver. So the goal might be 5 deals a month. What's the activity that's controllable that can be the daily measuring stick of how to get to 5 deals a month? In our business, it's how many offers have you made? How many offers did you make today? How many offers did you make this week? How many offers did you make this month? And eventually, as you control that activity of the number of offers that you make, a ratio will appear of how many deals you can actually close. So let's say you make 50 offers a month, 10 offers, 12 offers a week, right? And you get about 2 deals per month off of those 50 offers. If your acquisitions person wants to close 5 deals, or you want your acquisitions person to close 5 deals a month, then guess what? All you have to do is increase the activity that's controllable, and the ratio will convey to 5 deals per month. So instead of making 50 offers and closing 2 deals, you make 125 offers a month, and the ratio should appear where you close 5 deals per month. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So now you have more control in your business and more predictability in your business of how many deals you can close, how much revenue you can generate, and what needs to be done. The beauty of it is if they're focused on the offers, if they're focused on that activity, chances are they're going to get better at that activity. And chances are the better that they get at that activity, the higher the ratio increases as well. And all of a sudden you make 125 offers and you close 6 deals or 7 deals per month. Not to mention, adding another acquisitions person, having them do another 125 offers every single month. What can that look like for you and for your business? So the KPI is the key here, though, right? If they're worried about all sorts of transaction coordination and other stuff that's outside of their control, that's gonna give your business a step back instead of moving it forward. Have them focus on the activity that drives revenue, right? Cameron is sitting behind the camera right now, and Her KPI as a videographer and content creator is to deploy at least 2 videos on YouTube, like this one, every single week. We do a Spill the Beans every Sunday, and we drop a video like this every Wednesday, and that's her responsibility. She called me up over the weekend. She says, Tim, we need a video for Wednesday. I said, all right, let's sit down on Monday. So she's now motivated to make sure that she's reaching out to me, holding me accountable to create the content, so that way she can then do the video and deploy it twice a week, which is in her roles and responsibilities, right? So it's a great way of her maintaining responsibility and keeping me accountable for what I'm supposed to be doing as well. And then the entire engine moves forward. So those are the 3 keys. If you do those 3 things with your employees, you screen them properly, you train them properly, and you measure their performance on a consistent basis, you will have assets on your team, not liabilities on your team. And every asset on your team will yield a return on the investment, right? So if you're going to pay somebody $40,000 a year, they're going to generate many times more than that, usually 3 to 5 times more than that in revenue for your business because of that. So you're seeing a return on your investment whenever you hire employees. So hire quality people, screen them properly, train them properly. And by the way, if you can't train them properly, just say, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. I need you to give me some feedback and let's work through this together, right? So train them properly, set proper expectations, and put the right KPIs in place and get feedback from your team. Say, hey, is this something that you feel confident and comfortable that you can achieve this goal every single month of making this number of offers or of putting out this number of videos, and making sure that you're having ambitious goals, but not overly ambitious where they're not going to hit that, right? You want achievement, you want to be able to check that box for your team. So if you are looking to build your business, there's no better way of doing it than by building a team and being able to link arms with amazing people and grow the business together. So if you got some value out of this, please share it with anybody else who's looking to grow and scale their business. And please please share, comment below, give me your best takeaway from this video. And as long as Cameron keeps up with her KPIs, look for the next video next Wednesday.